Hi, and welcome to Faxon blog and podcast.
When you perform a mock inspection, or we do it for you, it tells a lot more about your business operations than just what the ATF might point out. So if all of a sudden your bound book records are showing that there are firearms that aren't there, they really were just shipped out and somebody didn't record it during the shipping process, it says there's something broken with the business process itself.
The installment is brought to you by our friends at Tifton Gun Cleaning Supplies. We're going to be giving away one of the Ultra Cleaning Kits.
I'd ask you to do a close-up, but in reviewing past episodes, Dustin.
What?
Whenever I ask for a label close-up, you do not give me a label close-up.
That's not true.
Totally true.
That's not true. Side camera this week. Look at that.
Yeah, side camera. That's right.
There we
Why
go.
do you get a side camera?
You have a side camera right there.
Oh, so I do. Well,
I'm just...
hey.
You know, it's no secret that the things that you keep in your gun safe are important. They're valuable. They're things that you want, you need to hold on to, whether it's just your firearms and supplies, or I know a lot of people like to use their gun safes to hold things like tax returns and other important documents, family photos. All of those things are incredibly important. And to help keep better track of it and better maintenance on those items, Lockdown has a series of devices and utilities and tools to help keep those things that you treasure safe. One of my personal favorites that we actually use here in the office quite a bit around our storage for cameras and lighting and things like that is just one of their dehumidifiers. Now they have lots of other stuff. You may have already heard of the Goldenrod. You've heard a lot of stuff about the Lockdown Puck, which is a smart device to help keep your gun drawer, your safe, your tools, even your wine cellar safe, and checking up on the humidity and the atmosphere in those places as well. We did a great episode with Lockdown several weeks back that you could check out at faxonfirearms.com/blog, where we go through pretty much their entire product line and everything from the Lockdown Puck to dehumidifiers to even things like, storage, rack shelving, things of that variety. Keeping your safe, keeping your gun room clean, organized, and protected. And you could even get something like this, one of their room or gun safe dehumidifiers. If you're looking to organize that space in your home, again, whether it's for your gun safe or just anything that you hold valuable, we'd recommend you go to lockdown.com. Hi, and welcome to episode 40 of the Faxon blog and podcast. Today we have a great show. Jon Rydberg, the co-founder and CEO of Orchid LLC, is on with us. We're going to be talking about a whole suite, a whole gamut of FFL resources that Orchid and their subsidiary companies provide to folks who are starting FFLs or who are in firearms manufacturing, and maybe even the folks that have been in business for quite a while. We, as Faxon Firearms, are a client of Orchid, and you will recognize a lot of the clients that they have, folks like Smith & Wesson and Browning and so on. So you'll definitely want to stick around for that. He's going to go over some of the resources and things to keep in mind if you are like so many other folks in 2020, considering starting your own FFL. Also, during Jay's World of Eats, we're going to be giving away a Tifton Ultra Gun Cleaning Kit from our friends at Tifton Gun Cleaning. So make sure you stick around for that, and we'll also be giving away with it one of our Faxon Shield coffee mugs. To get entered, you could go to faxonfirearms.com/blog and click on episode 40. Before we get going with today's main segment, we'll take a quick break to hear from our friends of the podcast, and then we will turn it over to our conversation with Jon of Orchid. I think their product headline says it best: ring steel, not your ears. If you haven't checked out episode 27 of the Faxon blog and podcast, we actually spoke to Jared from Caldwell Shooting about some of their extensive line of hearing protection and accessories. One of the things that they sent out to us was a set of their Emac Shadows. And the nice thing about the Emac Shadows is not only are they excellent ear protection for the range or for training, or even when you're just mowing your lawn or working with power tools, but they also are a Bluetooth headset. So if you're into earbuds and power beats and AirPods and all that kind of thing, you can still get great stereo sound, dual microphones, and device control, all right here from the Shadows. And again, when you use those foam tips, you also get a 25 dB noise reduction rating as well. So if you're out on the range all day, you're working on a project in the garage, you want to listen to music, you still need to take calls, that sort of thing, no need to be taken on and off the giant muffs. You could just have a pair of Shadows in, and you can find these over at caldwellshooting.com. And don't forget to check out our whole episode about hearing protection with Caldwell at faxonfirearms.com/blog.
Well, as promised, we have Jon from Orchid Advisors on with us. We're going to be talking a little bit about what they do as far as ATF compliance and helping FFLs and a whole host of other things. But Jon, first of all, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So, Jon, if you could just, give our audience a little bit of background about who you are and what you do and what Orchid is all about, the elevator pitch, if you will.
Sure. So my name is Jon Rydberg. I am the CEO and co-founder of Orchid LLC. Orchid LLC is actually the parent company to both Orchid Advisors and Orchid Solutions. Orchid Advisors is focused all on our regulatory compliance services, everything from federal firearms licensing, education, ATF inspection assistance, import and export services. And Orchid Solutions is focused on delivering all the technology around that. So whether it be a retail point of sale system, manufacturing ERP systems, or even payment processing through a product we have called Orchid Pay, together they form what we consider to be an end-to-end solution for federal firearms licensees.
Very good. Now, we as Faxon are a client of Orchid, and we've worked with you all a lot. Obviously, you don't deal with the media guys on a day-to-day basis, but you're obviously in regular communication with Joey, our COO, and I'm sure Jay, our product director, and kind of the other folks who run the operations side of the business. But with all that said, and the whole host of services that you offer, one thing that we think we've been seeing during this pandemic and during this gun sales spike is, a lot of people wanting to get their own FFL. And sometimes that's a small mom and pop store. Sometimes that's, somebody who just wants to have something to work on guns in their basement. What are some of the things that you advise people to look to or offer as services for the folks who are just getting started out and getting an FFL?
Sure. I think it's important that the individual really have a good understanding of why they want to get their federal firearms license. There are advantages and burdens with getting your FFL, those primarily being from a regulatory perspective, and that can bring some liability. The advantages of it are, the ability to operate a manufacturing or retail business, inside of the firearms industry, which, at present is exceeding all sales records just about ever in history. So, number one, understand why you're trying to get in. Is it because you're strictly, a hobbyist? Do you have an actual business plan? Do you understand the industry and the regulatory environment? As you know, as a fellow FFL, there are a lot of regulations, so it's important to understand what you're getting into. In terms of services that we provide, we're approached by startups and actual existing FFLs as well who are looking to get additional licenses, like their special occupational tax license, so they can get into NFA firearms. And we have two services in that regard. One is really just a turnkey solution so they can get those licenses on their own. It's not that complicated. Some people are looking for a little bit more hand-holding, if you will, and understanding of what the expectations are at a state level, or maybe even down to the fire marshal, and understanding what the expectations are there, and we'll walk them through that process. So we're seeing a lot of requests to that, given the boom in the industry.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, a lot of people don't understand, how many restrictions are on FFL holders and just firearms manufacturers, resellers, and so on in general. We've had other folks and actually a couple of our dealers come in and guest on the show a couple of times over the last few months. And, the general buyer is now learning, if they're a first-time gun owner, which the estimate is there's over 6.5 million new gun owners this year, it's the antithesis of what they've been hearing. Oh, well, it's so easy to get a gun. It's so easy to be a dealer. It's so easy to do this. We were getting Facebook messages at the height of the pandemic asking if we did contactless door delivery. I mean, it's just stuff that is, really, really crazy and really, really out there for people who are truly, in it and on the up and up and actually doing the things that they are supposed to do. And even with, you were saying payment, like for e-commerce payment, some people don't realize that, there are certain companies, that won't work with firearms companies when it comes to payment or even website hosting or tons of different things. We're limited on what we're allowed to do with social media marketing. We can't buy Google ads. We can't, solicit, paid ads on social media. So there's a lot of little details that go into that. Do you find that that's surprising for your incoming clients?
I think to some degree, those who are primarily hobbyists who are looking to just kind of break in, or who are, trying to make a quick buck, they don't necessarily take all the time to understand the far-reaching restrictions of the industry. But I would say the majority of everybody that does contact us and that we work with has a pretty good understanding. We just open their eyes up to, the full spectrum of here's all the things that you really need to know. So in large part, I think, most people have a good understanding of what they're getting into.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you guys work with a variety of different sizes of brands too. I mean, you just scroll down your website and you see, brands like Smith & Wesson and Browning and Big Five Sporting Goods. You're really, there's a pretty steady appetite of different sized and different ages of businesses that are on there. I mean, does that get more complex based on how large they are? Or are they primarily going after different services than maybe a Faxon Firearms is?
So there can be greater levels of complexity as you get bigger. I would say it ties a little bit more to the business model. So if I were to give you a couple examples, if you go from one facility to multiple facilities, now you're managing more than one license. There are records that need to be managed with that, such as the ATF bound book. And you have to consider, well, how do I manage those together technologically, or do I use paper? Other levels of complexity are I might start importing or exporting or getting into NFA firearms. Maybe I have a retail store that's attached to my manufacturing location. So typically, as you get bigger, we start to see some of those variants attached to the business model, so they get more complicated. But that's not always the case. So, for example, a distributor from a regulatory perspective, most of the industry distributors tend to be rather large, and they're one of the most simplistic from a regulatory perspective. They just have to deal with an in and an out per se. So it depends.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Well, some of the things just clicking around on your website and some of the learning resources that you have, one thing I've found is the Online Firearms Compliance University. What's that all about, and what could people, expect to learn there? What does that service do for folks?
Sure. And, this is actually a great segue from your last question as well, because one of the things I didn't mention was it does not matter what size of an entity you have. You always have new individuals coming into the organization, right? There's turnover. And then it's always important to have some kind of independent assistance as well to check your answers, check your understanding. So if you look at something like our Firearms Compliance University, we provide education for those people who are just getting into this industry. But then also even some of the largest FFLs in the United States take our education courses, put them into their own online learning management system so that every employee, as they go through their annual training, they get a refresher on ATF regulations or import or export. And as they hire new people, that they'll make sure that they're trained before they hit the floor, if you will.
Yeah, and I'd imagine just with how things can change with the NFA and with the ATF, that they're, you know, that's a needed thing anyway. You know, there's going to be changes. I know the hot topic right now is pistol braces and what all that means. And I mean, it's been a hot topic before, but, you know, it keeps seeming to resurface. But that stuff changes. I mean, for the general consumer, it probably seems like it changes pretty frequently. You know, how do you guys stay on top of that and, you know, update that curriculum? You know, what are the steps and processes that go into it?
Sure. So we have attorneys who work for the firm. Some work with you, your organization directly, and they're responsible for tracking exactly what happens at a federal level and then a state level. From a firearms regulation perspective. And anytime there's any type of material change that should be shared with a client or even prospective clients, we'll update the university, update the courses there so that people can stay fresh and current what the laws are. There's a lot of advantages to online distance learning too, especially as we all know with COVID right now. Right. Nobody wants to travel. Nobody wants to be in person. So if you can stay educated and stay at a distance, well, there's a big benefit to that.
Excellent. And then one of the services that, or one of the offerings that you have on your website is something called eBound. What is eBound all about? This FFL software for ATF compliance?
Yep. So one of the core records that's required for ATF compliance is the bound book. It is a record that stores all of the acquisitions or ins of a firearm, receipts, if you will, or manufacturer, and all the outs could be the shipments or destructions or transfers, if you will. And back in the day, only paper records were approved. Starting approximately 10 years ago, electronic records were approved. And so there's been a proliferation of software, both on-premise and in the cloud, to manage this. Orchid eBound is our solution for that. It's cloud-based. It's meant for retailers, manufacturers, even distributors. Comes with an integrated electronic 4473. And our goal is keep you compliant, make it simple and easy, and make it inexpensive so it doesn't impact your budget.
Yeah, for sure. The same thing. We had one of our dealers on several weeks ago, and one of the things that we talked about there was, a lot of people not realizing whether they're getting into an FFL for the first time or even if they're going to go buy their first firearm, about the whole process and what the inventory is like and making sure that you're up to date. If we have something like when we do limited edition guns, that has to be signed out to the FFL of the person who's doing the coding. And then when it's all done, they have to sign it back to us, and a whole process. It's not just, hey, we ship it and, we get it back or they get it. There's a very specific paper trail that goes along with it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What are some other, resources if people are, looking at Orchid, what are some of the first resources that you would recommend to a new FFL holder? Would it be something like eBound? Would you start them in the university? Where would be your, typical first steps? Obviously, you said business plan and things have a lot to do with that, but what are kind of the general first steps?
Sure. So we have a life cycle, if you will, that, we use at Orchid as our methodology and kind of, articulates the lifespan of an FFL. And it starts with licensing and then education and then getting your records set and, then getting in your inventory and so forth. So it depends where our customers are on that life cycle curve when they come to us, depending on what their needs are. Specific to your question, though, for a new FFL, typically it's licensing. education tends to be very, very popular because those who are getting into the industry tend to understand that there are some risks. They don't want to, bear that liability. And then one of the next entry products typically is the electronic bound book, an E4473. Those individuals who are getting into the business now tend to be younger generation, if you will. Mm-hmm. And so they're more technically savvy, and the thought of keeping records in a paper bound book is a little foreign.
Right.
So, it's a very, very popular product.
Very good. Now, when it comes to ATF inspections, is that something, how does Orchid help their clients when it comes to a time of having a ATF inspection or audit or whatever word you want to put on it? What does the support of that look like?
Sure, definitely. The best offense is a good defense, right? Mm-hmm. And I think as a business owner, you want to be responsible for your shop anyways. So knowing where you stand and whether or not, your transactions and what your employees are doing is compliant is just a good way to run the business. And so there's a couple of different things we can do. Often we're called in to perform a full ATF mock inspection. So we would perform the procedures exactly like the ATF would do. Sometimes we even go a little bit deeper to identify things that would be potential violations. Depending on which regulation we're talking about, the FFL has the opportunity to correct errors before the ATF comes in. So that keeps you out of trouble when the ATF actually does their actual inspection. And the other piece is we'll teach organizations how to do their own mock inspections so they can monitor their performance. The nature of those inspections varies depending on, whether or not you're a retailer or a manufacturer or whatever it may be.
Very good. One of the things that we hear a lot is just about the different laws that are in different states, as far as, what guns are allowed, what magazines are allowed, all these kinds of things, is that something that you guys offer through the online university, or is that kind of like an ongoing, Rolodex that you're trying to keep up to date as legislation changes, from state to state and sometimes even, metro area to metro area?
Sure, that's a great question. And actually, if I compare to the federal regulations, at a federal level, things don't actually change all that much for licensees. It's really at the state level for both licensees and for consumers, where there's constant change across not just all 50 states, but at the county and municipality level and so forth. And while we do offer training related to state compliance, our core focus is actually a piece of software that we call Orchid eState. It's something that we co-developed with the National Association of Sporting Goods Wholesalers at NASW. And basically, you can go into the tool, select your actual state, select the firearm type. A dynamic list of actual features will change. So, if you're talking about a rifle, it might, give you different barrel lengths. And depending on what you select, will tell you exactly if it's restricted, unrestricted, or not yet determined in a particular jurisdiction. What's behind all of that is, the same attorneys that I mentioned before are tabulating everything that's going on at a state level into a massive database and just provides all that to the user at a click of a button.
Yeah, that's such a huge thing, because there are so many differences, between the laws, and we'll have influencers or potential customers or dealers in different states and different municipalities. And you got some people asking, they'll get on social, oh, why in the world did you do that? Why didn't you have this feature? And it's like, well, where I live, I can't have that feature, whether it's folks in California with a certain magazine, limit. There's some states, I swear in New England, that it's like, even if it looks like a fully automatic rifle, it's all about optics. That is something that there seems to be just a lot of, for the general consumer, a lot of gray area, because it does change, so quickly and so suddenly, depending on what municipalities you're moving in and out of.
Yeah, and what's unfortunate too is at the state level, there's not consistency about how the regulations are reported to consumers and FFLs from state to state. And in some cases, they'll name a specific model. That's great. That's the easiest. In other cases, they'll name features. And in some cases, they'll just name an intent, right? Or a style. And if you're not a firearm expert, sometimes it's really hard to determine whether or not those things are legal or not legal.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially, when we've been, as you can imagine, lots of water cooler talk about the election and everything, around here. And, we'll throw up every once in a while, when you talk about high capacity magazines, one, who gets to determine what's high capacity and what area. And then the other flip of it is, in what type of firearm, and there's always the whole, in assault weapons, it's ARs, it's AK-47s, but then you see like a tactical shotgun, that might even be pump action with a large magazine on. It's like, does that still count? There's just a lot of nuance and a lot of, like you were saying, there's people at play and there's legislation at play that is being informed by folks who maybe won't be as quite as comfortable with firearms or quite as knowledgeable, about them in general.
Right. Very true.
One question, and if you can't answer it, I will cut it out. But one question I want to know, when you're doing these mock ATF inspections, what are some common mistakes that you see, that might be easy fixes or ones that beginning FFLs might find themselves stumbling over?
Yeah. So, let me answer the question from two different perspectives. And one being that of, what the ATF might find and what's most common. And in that first kind of camp, there's a different answer for a manufacturer and from a retailer. So in manufacturing, almost everything has to do with inventory, whether or not it's marked properly, to whether or not it's recorded in the bound book correctly. And then, of course, where the ATF spends the majority of their time is everything that is in the bound book that says it is supposed to be on premise or with my employees. Do we actually have it? Can we produce it, right? So the accuracy of those records. In a retail environment, it's almost everything to do with the 4473, which is the record used for transferring a firearm to a consumer or non-licensee. So there's a little difference there. So we spend a lot of time focusing on inventory and the 4473 from an ATF perspective. Not that the other areas are overlooked. It's just those are focal areas. One thing that I like to really tell FFL holders and business owners is when you perform a mock inspection or we do it for you, it tells a lot more about your business operations than just what the ATF might point out. So if all of a sudden your bound book records are showing that there are firearms that aren't there, they really were just shipped out and somebody didn't record it during the shipping process, it says there's something broken with the business process itself. So, whenever we do a mock ATF inspection, we're able to provide some type of supplemental report to the business owner that says, you might want to go look at your shipping and receiving process because not everything you're shipping and receiving has a serial number on it. So you might have some other things to take a look at. So inventory 4473s, and then use the value of those inspections to let you know that you may have some other opportunities in the business.
Yeah, because it seems like, again, I'm just a media guy. I'm not necessarily part of, some of these things, but it seems to me just from the time that I've been with the company and talking to, dealers and people at trade shows or whatever, a lot of it is so much about just accurate bookkeeping. That you have your paper trail, that things are assigned, that stuff isn't squirreled away into a corner or put on top of a box and forgotten about. It's just making sure that you really do have a tab on, especially your, serialized assets.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I should probably highlight the majority of anything that we find and that the ATF might find in a new client of ours, they tend to be more administrative errors. We very seldomly, if ever, come across somebody who's maliciously doing something, to get around the regulation. It's I may have entered a wrong number into my records, or I may have misplaced the location in my factory where I put that firearm. Compliance is still very important because it aids in public safety, but more often than not, they're administrative errors.
Very good. Well, Jon, thank you so much for taking some time for us. If people want to learn more about Orchid and maybe get started with some of your services, where's the best place they could go?
Sure. Our parent company homepage, which is Orchid, ORCHID LLC.com. And that'll tell you about the whole enterprise, if you will, including our two subsidiaries, Orchid Solutions, focused on technology and payments, and Orchid Advisors, which is focused on licensing, education, and compliance.
Excellent. Well, we will definitely put links to all of that in the show notes and get some screen grabs for folks to show during the video. So if you're just listening on the audio podcast version, make sure you click over at faxonfirearms.com/blog and click on episode 40 to see all of that. And we'll have links and everything to Orchid in the show notes. Jon, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
For those of you who have been watching the podcast for a while, you may know that we had Ryan Donahue from Crimson Trace on for one of our episodes to talk all things optics and red dots and some of the exciting things that CT has coming up. But I just wanted to share one of my personal favorite products of theirs, and that is their Railmaster Pro, the CMR 204. So not only is it a tactical light, it's also a laser, and it has all of the industry-proven technology that Crimson Trace has been known for so many years. But they're not just limited to things like lights and lasers. They've made a big splash in the electro-optics game, whether it's looking at something like a traditional rifle scope, or maybe even their new battle optic, which you may or may not have seen in some TV shows and movies recently. They have a lot to offer. So obviously you're going to be seeing some more stuff of Crimson Trace popping up with us here at Faxon Firearms. You may have even seen it staged on our limited edition Mustang rifle that came out in the spring of 2020. Again, lots of cool stuff from them, just like the CMR 204 or anything in their Railmaster series. We would encourage you to check them out at crimsontrace.com.
Hi, welcome back to another installment of Jay's World of Eats, Election Edition.
Election edition.
We are recording this on Election Day.
Man, have you voted, Dustin?
I have.
Oh, well, fancy. Look at you waking up early. Gotta rub it in. Real smug.
Oh, look at you, patriotic citizen.
Oh, yeah, real smug.
Yeah, so we've been flipping around the TVs in here, just watching the stuffs whilst working. But you know, you got to do what you got to do. So hopefully you all got out and voted today, as this will be airing on a Friday.
Yeah, right.
I hope we're all still here. If not, this will be like one of those weird movies where like the dead parent left a videotape for the kids to watch. It'll be like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's gonna get real dark real fast.
This whole thing will just end in the next day.
But thank goodness we got to episode 40 of the blogging podcast.
Oh yeah, right.
Big number 40.
Big number.
All right.
Big number 40. Yeah,
it
absolutely.
Is 40 shows. 40 weeks of shows.
I got a 40th birthday coming up in a couple of days here, Dustin.
So
this
great.
Timed out pretty well.
Yeah, 40 for the 40.
We obviously scheduled this because of that.
Are you drinking 40s on your 40? Playing Edward 40 hands?
I am now.
Edward 40
I
hands.
hadn't planned on it, but
well, before we lollygag some more, this week the installment is brought to you by our friends at Tifton Gun Cleaning Supplies. We're going to be giving away one of the Ultra Cleaning Kits. This thing is stacked. All of your bore brushes, your jag set, bolt carrier and action brushes, bore guide, the picks, everything. It's all right.
Clean all sorts of stuff.
You could clean all the things.
Yeah.
So
right.
Make sure you check out our friends at Tifton Gun Cleaning, and you can enter to win this and a Faxon Shield mug.
Ooh, nice.
By going to faxonfirearms.com/blog and clicking on episode 40. So, in honor of Jay's 40th birthday.
Yeah, right.
So
very exciting, Dustin.
So Jay, you came in this morning to put something in our mini fridge. And
Yes, I did.
And I was confused and concerned. And it is apparently part of the snack today.
It is part of the snack today, Dustin. This is Sack. It is a Korean orange beverage.
Okay.
It's got some pulp in it, some serious pulp in it. It's sort of like if you took a can of mandarin oranges and you sort of shredded them up.
Just blended that
And
bad
like,
boy.
yeah, not even blended, just like shredded them into their individual little granules and then served it with the mandarin orange juice. So it's pretty sweet. My mother-in-law used to drop off cases of this for us. She no longer does for some reason.
Get on it, June's mom.
Yeah, right. So I got Sack today. I'd ask you to do a close-up, but in reviewing past episodes, Dustin.
What?
Whenever I ask for a label close-up, you do not give me a label close-up.
That's not true.
Totally true.
That's not true. Side camera this way. Look at that.
Yeah, side camera.
Side
That's
camera.
right.
There we
Why
go.
do you get a side camera?
You have a side camera right
Oh.
there.
Oh, so I do. Well,
I'm just
hey.
well, and for those of you who are watching and not just listening, you know, we're doing some more kind of on location type stuff and things. So we got a couple extra action cameras, and I'm still getting used to the feng shui and editing them and trying different neutral density filters and all this kind of stuff.
That's
so
meaningless to me.
great. But that means I use them during these segments so I could test out how they do. But rest assured, you're
I
going to
like
get
this.
your close-up.
I like the side camera thing.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just like move directly in front of this, and we could do the entire
Yeah.
episode
Up close and personal
up
with
close,
Jay Wilson.
personal.
Well, while you are
Sack.
while you're tapping the sack, we'll show a little teaser clip here. We started working on editing the Thanksgiving special, which includes Jay's homemade geta recipe that we
very good.
that we recorded at Bob and Britt Faxon's house.
I
And
was hoping you didn't just trash all that footage, Dustin.
I just threw it in the lake.
God, this is unusable.
No, turned out pretty good. Shout out to our friends at Meat, by the way, meatyourmaker.com, MEAT, your maker. They hooked us up with grinder and meat mixer and sausage stuffer, dehydrator, slicer,
equipment.
tons of stuff. So we got to use that grinder during the Geta segment. So, mark your calendars for that. Like, forget the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. I mean,
Yeah, this is way more important.
Are they even doing that?
I don't know.
Well, again, if we're here by Friday, then maybe
The world might end, Dustin.
All right, let's.
All right, Sack. You see the shredded mandarin orange stuff?
I do, which concerns me. So it's not like soda; it's like more of a juice
it's
drink.
like juice. I mean, it really is like a can of mandarin oranges.
That's good. It is good.
Yeah, it's pretty tasty.
Little floaters in there.
It's got this like it's little floaters. These like mini 8-ounce cans. Sort of nice, It's like, you don't have to commit to an entire 12-ounce can.
Yeah, and also if you don't want to commit to an entire 12 ounces of pulp stuck in your teeth, I mean, like nothing like getting stuff stuck in your teeth when you're drinking something.
So trifling.
He be trifling.
So, snack number 2, Dustin.
Trader
Joe's
okra,
crispy, crunchy okra.
If you want a close up, would you actually hold it there for a second? Thank you. You're like, close up, please, and then you take it down. How am I supposed to close up that?
I don't know. Video editing magic, Dustin.
A rando freeze frame would look great.
I'm just here to make the demands. I'm not actually here for the logistical part of it.
I'm going to drink my sack.
So, Trader Joe's crispy, crunchy okra. These things, I think, are freeze-dried or something. They are, in fact, crispy and crunchy and delicious. Look, they even look like okras. I mean, I think it's probably because they are okras. You might think of okra as a slimy, disgusting thing that you find in Cajun food or whatever.
Yeah.
This is not it. This is delicious.
Yeah, because it adds like if I remember okra, like eating like fresh okra, it's like salty, and it kind of adds like a little bit of a saltiness to the...
Maybe. Sort of like gumbo.
Yeah.
Sticky. Listen to the crunch on this.
Oh, my. Oh, you're eating the stem side, too?
Yeah. Yeah, you just pop the whole thing in.
That's interesting.
What? It's delicious.
I mean, it almost doesn't taste like anything.
Right. And, you know, I just sort of like to point this out real quick.
Okay. MSG.
Another close-up. Serving size. 1 bag.
Oh,
they aren't messing around. You know, Trader Joe's, I appreciate this. That you're not trying to lie to us and say that someone's going to get 4 servings out of this.
Right.
Because they don't.
A perfect snack for those of us like me who have 0 impulse control. And we'll just pound a whole bag of a snack.
I was looking at my bag of Purina cat treats the other day.
For his cat. Not for him. Carry on.
For my cat. Do you know what the serving size they suggest was? 25 pieces.
Of treats?
Of treats. What kind of monster? I mean, can you imagine?
Would your cat eat anything else?
This is obviously written by a cat. I mean, this label is obviously written by a cat.
25.
There's no chance. I mean, my cat does something good, you know, maybe like 3-5 treats.
Yeah.
25? That's like a full meal's worth.
Well, you know what my cat gets. I send Jay videos in the morning, except he has an inferior Android phone. So I found out that my videos are coming all through like all bitmapped and garbled.
They're so grainy and tiny because of your crappy iPhone.
Oh, no, the iPhone's wonderful.
Obviously not if it's taking videos like that.
Android just has to crunch it down because it's not good enough. But I give my cat little meat treats in the morning. He gets a slice of turkey. When I come downstairs and get ready for work, packing up my lunch.
Your cat's so soft and lazy.
Oh, he's a giant. Like he's freaking huge. Like he's an old man and he's fat. And
I'm going to send you a picture of our cat because I think giant is relative.
Do a little side by side.
Yeah, my cat's pretty massive here. She obviously wrote the 25 treat serving size. Mm-hmm. It was obviously authored by someone like her.
Someone like Jay's cat. But yes, I agree. Any snack that is the whole container is the serving size, that's the way to go. I think that is just the... you
know, I really appreciate the honesty here with Trader Joe's. You know, it's like... Yeah. You aren't fooling yourself. You're going to eat these in one sitting.
Well, you know, a couple of weeks ago, we tagged the folks at Unique Pretzels. Yeah. And they commented back. So they liked, you know, that we featured them on the show. Trader Joe's is quite a larger conglomerate. So I don't know how they'll respond, but we'll give them a tag. We'll see how it goes.
I love Trader Joe's.
I don't know who to tag for Sack.
Well, Sack. You tag Lottie.
Just tag
Lottie
Korea.
Is the LOTTE, maker of Sack.
Maker of Sack. And other fine beverages.
Thank you, Sack.
Extra pulp. Look at this thing. Also, great little mason jar double shot glasses or whatever these are. That's nice.
Thank you.
Anyway, culture today. Korea, Trader Joe's, Tifton Gun Cleaning Kit.
Man.
Yeah, that's right.
Really covering all the bases.
Yeah, that's all you need.
Cat treats.
All right.
Can we do an episode where we just have cats eating cat treats in place of you and me?
Amelia does not like to leave the house. He doesn't like the outside.
He's eating like sliced ham and turkey. And
he has worn bald spots on the back of his haunches from lounging for so much over the last 10 years.
That's incredible.
He's living a good life. He would just be in here and be like the whole time. Anyway, back to more important matters. If you would like to enter to win the Tifton Gun Cleaning Kit, all you have to do is go to faxonfirearms.com/blog and click on episode 40. As always, if you have questions for the show, guest suggestions, topic suggestions, you want to send some sack to Jay, all you got to do is email podcast@faxonfirearms.com. Don't forget that the week of Thanksgiving, we will be putting out that Thanksgiving special episode, which includes some cooking tutorials of not only, traditional Thanksgiving fare, but the Cincinnati family geta from Jay Wilson's clan, as well as chess pie, which Britt made with us, which was fantastic, as well as some homemade Faxon family stuffing. So
very exciting.
Be on the lookout for that. Let's hope we all make it to Friday.
Yeah, right.
See you then, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. The unaired episode.
See you next time.
I think it goes without saying that pretty much every gun owner has their favorite tools, their favorite things that they like to keep in their range bag or at their workbench. And it's no secret for us that the Wheeler Fat Wrench is one of those. We have several of these up in our assembly area with our armory technicians. And it's because it's a simple, great device that can be used in multiple applications. It's an adjustable torque wrench in a screwdriver type fashion with a series of bits that'll help you with everything from rifle takedown to scope mounting and everything in between. Fantastic tool. So if you haven't checked these out, you can go to wheelertools.com and they're available in a ton of places, including amazon.com. But make sure you check it out, especially if you're looking for that one missing piece for your workbench, or you want to give it to a new gun owner to help set up their range bag. Definitely a great choice. Again, check out our friends at wheelertools.com and take a look at the Fat Wrench.
Thanks for tuning in this week. As always, we would love for you to subscribe on your favorite video or podcasting app. You can subscribe to the show by finding the link at faxonfirearms.com/blog. Click on any one of our episodes to be able to get to a link of all of the platforms that we are on. So make sure you check us out on places like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and more. Don't forget that if you want to get entered in this week's giveaway for the Tifton Ultra Gun Cleaning Kit and the Faxon mug, all you have to do is go to faxonfirearms.com/blog and click on episode 40 for all of the ways to enter. As always, we would love to hear from you. If you have guest suggestions, questions that you want answered on air, topic suggestions, we'd love to hear those. You could email us at podcast@faxonfirearms.com. Don't forget to check out this week's show notes to learn all about our friends at Orchid LLC, and feel free to share our conversation with Jon with any of your friends that are looking to start their FFL as well. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
We want to extend our deepest gratitude to military, police, first responders, and more by saying thank you with special pricing and discounts on all Faxon products. Here's how you get started. First, you'll head on over to our website, faxonfirearms.com. From there, you'll want to click Support and Guardian Purchase Program in the drop-down. Then you'll see the instructions on how to get started, so let's just walk through those. First, you'll want to register for an account on our website. If you've already bought something from us on our website before, then this part's already taken care of. Second, you'll want to send a copy of your credentials or some reasonable verification of affiliation to customer service at faxonfirearms.com. We get a lot of emails where people are like, hey, will this count? Will this ID count? Will this VA card count? Chances are, yes, a lot of them will count, but make sure you attach an image or a copy of that verification to the email before you even ask customer service. That way they can expedite the process for you. As soon as the account has been created or updated, we will send you an email letting you know that you're ready to go. The discount will be available anytime online when you go to your shopping cart. If you have any more questions, please email customer service at faxonfirearms.com.